huge part of our relationship, our mortgage team. We run our mortgage team together. Matt actually has his real estate license as well. We own 7 properties now, manage 2 additional properties, and are very active in the community, love giving like time, talents, and money really wherever we can serve. And today we really want to encourage you that if we can go from borrowing money from our kids for gas to making $1 million in a year, you can do what you set your mind to. Like, it requires focus, and it requires having some really good people in your corner and having Christ at the center, but it is not impossible. One of the many phrases we use is, when you're in the valley, learn the lesson quickly and get out as fast as you can. Life will throw you some wrenches, right? But if you can keep Christ at the center, you have the ability to overcome those things, unlike people in the world. We also believe that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So the way you clean your dishes is the way you're going to turn in that paper next week. The way you serve at church is going to be the way you give your money. It's just really at the heart of everything we do. And so developing habits early is so crucial, probably more so than you would think so.
Yeah, and it all comes down to who do you trust and who do you glorify, right? And so as you go through life, like, that's such a big thing. So yeah, she told our story, but I mean, that's maybe the biggest revelation lately is really paying attention to who is it that you're putting your trust in to get these things done, like schoolwork, following the compasses of your life, like doing the right things. And then in all of that, when somebody says, hey, how'd you accomplish that? Making sure you didn't say, I did that. That was on me, but knowing who to glorify through the process. So whenever this question was asked, I think of the opportunity to train people over the years. And I've done a lot of coaching for people, but the thing that's really impacted people the most would be, there's this, I'll give you an example of a friend of mine, Rodney. So Rodney, very smart guy, athletic, cool. He was just like, everybody wanted to always know Rodney. And he thought, I can use this influence in a good way. But he knew that if he was bigger on social media, if he was louder, and the whole thing came down to, he was a real estate agent and had done several other things, pretty good salesperson, but he kept talking about having a camera. And it was weird. Like, every time I talked to him, we go through things, and man, once I get my camera. And but it never went to, once I get my camera, to like, this is what it's going to feel like to have my camera. So during that time, and I'd been developing this a little bit before that, there's this thing I do called the Next Step Turnaround. And it's literally where we go through your life in general and the things you really want, and then putting things into perspective of how it would change your life. And we went, hey, instead of just thinking about having a camera, which 3 cameras would you buy, right? He had never taken the time to even pick out the cameras that he would maybe buy, much less how much they cost or what they would do for him. And so we did bite size, like, okay, the next step, how long would it take you to find 3 cameras that you'd want to buy? And he's like, maybe 5 minutes. And so his life has been on delay for like a year, and it's 3 minutes to pick the camera. Okay, now take the next 5 minutes, figure out how much it would cost. Now let's talk about a budget. And next thing you know, a month later, the dude has a camera, right? And it really did change his life. Like, he took that camera and he went around New Braunfels, and he would take pictures and hold up signs and have people taking pictures of him, and created just a huge platform that literally, like, the news would talk about it. Like, it was the biggest platform we had in NB, and people were like wanting to pay him money to be on his platform. And it all came down to not letting that small thing of owning a camera hold you back from what your dreams really are. So to me, really setting aside, not just what do I want eventually, but what are the small things I can do to get there, and then letting those small things not bog down your whole day. If he wouldn't have taken the 5 minutes to pick the 3 cameras, he would not be the same person today. So don't let your goals be so big, kind of like what you're talking about, so big that you never get past that first little step. Yeah. Have accountability. Without me being there, right? He came to me, we were friends, and me saying, go pick the 3 cameras. It's okay to ask for help, ask for accountability, get to that next step, because that thing you think could change your life just might really change your life if you'll commit to it.
That's good.
Cool.
A way that we've developed a way to help us maintain a balanced life is create first our vision, what do we want, and our boundaries. So in our industry, we hear a lot about like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Like I should have bought that investment, or I should have gone in on that deal. And when we got together and said, okay, this is what we want and this is where we're going, when opportunities and we were bombarded with things, we could easily say no. And in the seasons where we weren't saying no and we were saying yes to everything, we experienced burnout, frustration. We wanted to quit our jobs. Like, I want to just go be a teacher and not have to think about anything. Our industry is really 24/7. We don't have like 9 to 5 jobs. And so if we didn't have the boundaries we had and have today, I'm not sure we would be here.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you get caught up chasing money, almost like you get caught up chasing having fun while you're in college, right? And that fear of, well, what if I don't do this, or what if I don't do that? But eventually it becomes so much. Like, remember one part, in one season of our business, we had $600,000 that we were trying not to make, because if we made it, the tax consequences. And so we're trying to figure out what to do with this money, and literally doing dumb stuff that wasn't even enjoyable just to try to spend money. Like, that's how ridiculous money can eventually become. And so we realized if you're trying to just accomplish the money goal and not really, like, I call it the compass, and you wind up wanting to do everything not based off of is it the right thing to do, but it's more of like, can I obtain this thing? And I have a few tattoos, and I wear one watch, but I have 2 compasses purposely tattooed on my arm, because I want the direction I'm going in to be more important than what time it is. Do y'all get that? Like, I want to make sure that as I'm making these decisions, is it perfect? Maybe not, but at least is it guiding me further along the path? Because what I could see is before, I would let something start turning me a little bit this direction, and because I wasn't focused on the ultimate goal all the time, I would be so far turned around and going against all the things I knew I stood for without even trying. Like, it wasn't on purpose, but I would be lost. And we call it the valley. And I'd get out of the valley, and I'd go back to the valley, and out of the valley, and back to the valley. And so don't worry about being perfect on all of your decisions. Just get a little bit better and make sure, is this next step I'm taking at least taking me in the right direction, or am I steering the opposite way? Yeah, so when I think about the trends, and we're here to talk about more of the finance side of things, right? And so I think there's a lot of information that just steers you in the wrong direction. Not that it's not wrong, but as an example, most people think to buy a house, you need 20% down. You don't. You can do 0 down. People think that you need to not have any debt, like the Dave Ramsey system, like make sure credit cards, make sure, like there's such thing as bad debt. But I believe that everyone in this room should be thinking about, how can I owe $1 million to someone? Because if you're getting the right kind of debt that is being serviced correctly and making you money, there's no reason not to have in fact, the richest people in the world have a ton of debt. They don't walk around with everything paid off. They leverage debt. And so saying, I don't want to have any debt, or the next thing would be things are too expensive. I remember my dad, I tell the story all the time, but somebody actually told me, what's the cheapest you remember gas being? $1.99. Who else in here? And anybody older in the room can talk too. Like, what's the cheapest you remember gas being? $2.40. Okay. My dad, I remember him. We were driving along, and gas was 97 cents, and he thought the world was going to end because gas was 97 cents, right? And that people talked about it like, what's happening to America? This is crazy. There's no way we're going to last 2 more years, right? And now, right, who wants 97 cents a gallon, right? Everybody. And so my point to that is, like, everybody's always thinking about how yesterday was cheaper. Well, today is tomorrow's, like, that was cheaper, right? So if you're waiting for the price to be right, wait 10 years, right? So, but my point is, get involved now in thinking about finances. What do I need down? What is good debt? What is bad debt? And start leveraging opportunities. I love what you talk about with Priest Holmes. Like, it's not so much about what exactly you're learning here, but connecting with one another, because we talked about this on another conversation, but it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, and follow the people that you know that are successful. Don't follow the people that aren't successful, but they're just really loud. A preacher told me this one time, like if imagine yourself in a room and imagine this person that you're maybe getting to know, or maybe you've known for a while, and every time y'all come together, it's a different room. So here's a room, y'all come together. If the person needs you to go into their world, right? Drinking, making dumb decisions, being in places that you know you shouldn't be, but every time you get with them, they inevitably pull you into their room. That's not a good person to be around. It's also not good for you to show up and you need to be the person to always pull people into your room, but can you coexist with this person and y'all both impact the world positively, staying neutral, right? Like not needing to influence them necessarily. My point is, who can you find that's encouraging you, helping you, and can maybe level you up a little bit? There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Don't follow just the trends. Find people who are actually being successful and see what they're doing. Try to get influence from them.